This is part 1 to a do-it-yourself industrial-sized sandblasting cabinet. As you can see in this video, I finished up the frame. It's a 4x3 table with a 3x3 door and a 5.5 foot height. Alright, so this one we're going to cut at 5.5. This is going to be one of the back pieces. So from floor to the top and the back, it's going to be 5.5 feet. So I'm going to cut 2 of these, and then we'll cut some cross members. Alright, so this one we're going to notch. So we're going to use an angle grinder because the legs are going to come and meet this. So we're going to take out some metal here. So we're going to take 2 inches off of this so that the angle iron can slide into it nice and easy. So gotta do some measuring and then we'll do some cutting. So right here I'm marking out 1 7/8 inches to make a notch in this top beam. The 2 vertical beams for the rear are going to come in and meet it, and I want to have a nice box shape piece that's very sealed. I'm going to be able to weld all the seams around this and not have an issue with it leaking from the corners. The reason I'm going so over the top with really sealing this thing up is because it's not going to be a typical siphon feed cabinet blaster. I'm going to use a pressure blaster that I have to feed into this cabinet, which is going to be throwing a lot more air and a lot more material around, so I really need it to be fully sealed, which is why, as you'll see in this upcoming clip, I pretty much butted them right up to each other and welded it and had very few gaps. So, notch this piece to fit the angle iron that's going to come to here. So, by doing that, we get a nice boxed in joint. Just have to weld it closed. That's one, and then obviously this one's going to go right here. I don't have much room for it, but that's the idea. So now we're just going to figure out where the next one has to go for the table, and then one more for the bottom brace. Right here I'm doing the same kind of notch, 1 7/8 inches, pretty much identical to the top one. This is going to be the support for the table, which is going to be expanded steel. So instead of having this angle iron with the flat side up, flat side's going to be down. That way I'll have a nice channel to rest my tabletop on. Two more notches. This is going to be for the table. We have our top beam, and then this beam is going to go somewhere about 3 feet away from that one. Alright, so right now we got everything mocked up. We're going to use a square, get everything nice and straight. I have some welding magnets holding it all in place. So we're just going to confirm everything with the square and then tack it up. So right here you can see I have some welding magnets around all the corners just to hold everything in place. And I'm using a square to really dial it in, make sure every corner is 90 degrees. I also used a tape measure to make sure I had the lower beam in the position I wanted it to be. I wanted it from the tabletop to the roof. I want 3 feet. So as you can see, that's what I'm just making sure I have everything right there. And always double check your measurements. And then here we're going to weld it in. We're just going to tack it for the first shot. And I'm doing sequence welding here, which is you start with one corner, you cross over to the opposite corner, and then kind of see the pattern. I go to the next corner, then cross over. So you weld a bead on the first corner, then you move over to the second corner, and by doing this, you're reducing the possibility for the piece to twist, because obviously I don't have a welding table, I'm just working on the floor, and it'll just make everything stay in place, because welding with heat, everything starts to move around eventually. But I didn't have an issue with this sequence method. Everything had stayed in line, in place, nothing twisted or warped. All my corners were still 90 degrees. My tabletop was still exactly 3 feet from my base, so it worked out well. pretty good. It's all welded up, looks pretty straight. So we're gonna set that to the side, we're gonna start making the next piece. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut two 50-inch lengths, and this is gonna be for the front. So basically I built the back, and we're gonna build the back, and then we're gonna build the front, and then put a beam in between to connect them. So I'm gonna build the front piece now, which should be a little simpler than this one. It's a little smaller, one less piece. So two 50-inch lengths and a 46-inch length. So, got our pieces all together here. This is all the front's going to consist of. This piece, edges rounded off, and fit nice in the corners. And that's basically just going to go like that. And then we're going to flip it up. And these will be the feet there and there. And then at the top, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do yet. So right here I'm making the front panel. I am measuring for a 2.5 foot leg, which leaves us with 20 inches above the table for the front wall. It's a total of 4 feet and 2 inches. The rear panel is a total height of 5 feet and 6 inches, so this is a bit lower, but we want a nice angled front so I can see through the window nice and easily. Right here I'm just making sure everything's 90 degrees. We're going to tack it all together, and then we're going to just do the same method of sequence welding. I have the welding magnets to help keep things in place, and then we'll put it up to the front one and see how it lines up. Some nice welds. Front panel's finished, just leaning up against the rear panel. And now we're going to make the cross members that go from front to the back, I should say. And I'm going to put expanded steel on here and here. This is going to be flipped around. There's going to be 2 bars connecting them. So it gives me a nice ledge to put some expanded steel. Probably put a cross member in the middle so I can hold some pretty heavy stuff on there. So we got those 2 pieces cut out. So now what we're gonna do is I think I'm gonna lay the backside down on the ground and put the 2 posts up, and I feel like that'll be the easiest way to get them like exactly straight. Then I'll maybe stand it up and then weld it to this, or maybe even lay this on top of them and weld to it, depending on how flimsy it is, because there's not too much support yet. So we'll see. Got bigger magnet. As you can see, it's squared up. But an even larger magnet in the rear. So I think we're going to tack that on and just go ahead and weld it. I'll leave the square right there so I can kind of get a reference to where I'm at. So let's do it. So right here I'm adding in the 2 beams that connect the front and back panels. This is cut to a 32-inch length, which when you add the 2 inches of the rear panel and front panel, I get a total of 3 feet wide, which gives me my table space of 3 by 4. Alright, got these beams welded up. They're all straight. So now we're just gonna put a straight edge from here to here. Make sure it's level across the top. I'm gonna check the level of that and here, just because I don't know if the floor is level. So we'll check that. We'll shave down either one if we need to. If it's good, it's good. And we'll get that one welded up. So right here I'm using a precision straight edge with a level to make sure the top is completely flat when I put the front panel on, like you see here. That way everything is perpendicular and straight. I have a level on there to make sure it's even with the bottom. Just confirming that with the square. Took a while to adjust it, but I got it dialed in perfect, and it was well worth the extra time spent on it. Alright, so now we got it pretty much 100% straight, I'd say. Definitely took some time and thinking, but starting to shape up, starting to look like at least a table. So I think while after I weld it, I'm going to leave it the way it is, and I'm going to add 2 cross members like this back here, just to give it some support. and then I'll turn it back up on its feet, and we'll figure out what kind of angle we want to put from here to here for the window and all that fun stuff. Alright, so I got these two braces cut up, one here or one I have in there right now. As you can see, there's a gap, but the brace that comes from here all the way over here will bridge that, so I'm not too worried about it. Same with the rear. Welded in these lower support beams 6 inches up from the feet, just to help the table stop from flexing or any movement. Alright, so we got both the braces welded in. So we're gonna clean up and tip the table up and see how it looks. I think now we're gonna add the rear lower brace. I'm gonna try to make the bars that come down. I think I'm gonna come out straight and then bend it down, because if I just go with a straight bar from here to up there, I'm not gonna be able to see through the window, so I think that's the plan for now. Rear bar clamp down, gonna weld it in, and we'll tilt it back up and do the window mount, or window bars. This rear beam I added really tied together the other two supports I have in there. Gave it that rigidness I was looking for. I might put one in the front depending on how I design the hopper, but we'll figure that out at another time. Your bars all welded in. A little dark, can't really see, but definitely made it a bit more sturdy. So I'm gonna put those top bars in, we're gonna flip it back over, see what we can do. I'm gonna cut a 4-foot section. I'm gonna bring it from here all the way out to 2 feet, and then we're gonna turn it and bring it to this. So I think we're just gonna cut a slice in it, bend it and weld it, and that will be all. I measured this piece for 2 feet, and I cut a triangle shaped hole in it to allow me to bend the angle iron down to make that front window frame piece. So I'm just going to tack that in, weld it together, and make the same thing on the other side. I'm also going to weld in that middle piece where I bent it, as you see here in a second, just to seal that up. It'll be like one piece of metal after it's welded, and that gives me my nice curved edge. No need for 2 pieces. It was much easier just to bend it and fit it to what I needed for. So this is the finished product. The whole frame is built. There might be 1 bar added in up top just when the roof is put on to give it more support. But first, we're going to build the hopper. I'm going to put the table together, do all the side panels. I think just 1 side door, make the windows and the gloves. But for now, that's it. That'll all be in the next video.